Today we're going to follow up, after a jab, comes a bread and butter punch for a right-handed fighter, and that's his straight right hand. I'm going to demonstrate here with Eddie the fundamentals or the basic technique of a simple right hand. A lot of people on day one coming into a gym, they like to throw a haymaker, just a looping punch, thinking that that might be the right way to throw a right hand. I'll also see the youngsters step up with their right foot in front of their left foot. I simply ask them, how would you shoot a bow and arrow? Well, as soon as I ask them that simple question, they get into a perfect orthodox or right-handed stance. They show me how they would set up with a bow and arrow, which is exactly the same way that you would set up to throw a right hand. What I'm going to do is show you a couple of different things, basically from the waist up. That's where the critical errors occur. Most people lock their hips up. The hips and the shoulders should turn at the exact same time. So much power is generated from the hips. People don't realize that a right hand, a power punch, starts from the ground up. It starts from the foot, works its way up to the hip, the turning of the hip, the turning of the shoulders, and then, of course, lastly, the extension of the arm and how everything finishes off. The angle of the shoulders, the angle of the hips, the angle of the right toe, and so on. Again, most people will come into the gym day one and they'll throw haymakers, and maybe from out of position. We're going to get into what we refer to here as the bow and arrow posture or bow and arrow setup. I've got my right shoulder set back. I've got my left shoulder facing my opponent. I've got my left hip point facing my opponent. And of course, my right hip point follows. I'll slightly bend my knees. From a basic guard, I'm simply going to shoot my hand straight out, trying to avoid any telegraph. Again, I want to, just like the jab, I want to avoid a shoulder roll. I want to avoid the elbow flaring or flipping up. I want to keep the elbow nice and compact. I want to relax. And again, from point A to point B, the shortest distance is a straight line. I'm going to go ahead and allow this hand to slowly start turning on its way out, just like a classic jab does. My hips are turning and my shoulders are turning at the same time. I follow straight through the target and finalize the punch with a short little twist at the end. Now again, my hip point will, at that point, swap position. Initially, my left hip point was facing my opponent. My left shoulder was facing my opponent. When I finalize that punch, when I fully execute that punch using 100% range of motion, my hip point on the right side should be facing my opponent, and my right shoulder should also be facing my opponent. Same exact thing. So again, from the ground up, a slight knee bend, left hip point toward the target, left shoulder toward the target, elbows on both arms in. Start with a hip rotation, followed by the shoulder rotation, and then the arm hand come out. The hand makes a final twist at the very end, and I recoil and bring it right back to guard. And that is today's tip of the week. I'm Daddono with the Jupiter Boxing Club. Stop by and check us out.